Hi everybody, this is Sarah and she's been working with me recently with a skin condition. Sarah's also a practitioner in the same method that I'm trained in, and we connected quite a few years ago, but this is the first time we've actually worked together like this, isn't it? So to start with, what Sarah's here today is because we've worked together on a skin condition that was on her hands. So Sarah, thank you so much for doing this with me. How long did you actually have the skin condition and what was it like living with it?
Okay, well, I suppose there's two parts to that answer. I've always had a little bit of vulnerability on my hands with contact dermatitis, and I'd had a few flare-ups in my long distant past, but they were always able to settle down and get back to normal, and it was never a chronic problem. But then what happened was in 2017, I went through quite a traumatic divorce, and it was a big emotional upheaval really for me, and that's when it started, and it's been chronic ever since. So we're 2022 now, but it started really 2017, 2018 started getting really bad. And so I've not had any respite from it in that time. So it's just been there all the time, and it just feels so when I have gone to the GP to get it addressed, I have been seeing GPs about it. I've been prescribed steroid cream, a number of them. So I've been going back over the years. I've tried different steroid creams every time, and just standard emollient cream, so emulsifying ointment, that sort of thing.
Okay.
And just a general advice to keep your hands out of detergents. And so I've been following all of that advice, been taking all the medication, but there has been absolutely no respite in the condition in all of that time. And it was getting really chronic. So by the time I came to Rachel, it was extremely painful. I'd been on my sort of 4th or 5th kind of steroid cream. I was getting reactions to some of the steroid ointments. And at the time, just before we had our session, Rachel, it was really, really painful, and nothing seemed to be helping. And I was in the process of going back to the doctors, and they were then taking blood tests and blood samples to get tested for more serious conditions like I think it was psoriatic dermatitis, and they were thinking it might be something more serious like that, an autoimmune condition that might actually affect the joints, because it was very painful. Anyway, at that point, we had our session, but how it was feeling was just very, very painful, like lots of tiny pinpricks all the time and red hot. So, and I couldn't get any respite from it at all. And it seemed to get worse with stress. So if I was sort of in a stressed situation, it would flare up even more and become even more uncomfortable. And so I have been also doing a lot of self-care practices like meditation. That's what I do anyway. And stress management techniques and all sorts of things like that. And that was having very little effect on it. So even my own techniques, I couldn't get to work on myself to get a breakthrough.
Have you tried any other methods, any other modalities to try and
I have had, I've done some RTT on myself, and I did get some understanding of what was going on, but I had no breakthrough with the actual symptoms. And somebody else has tried to do it as well with, I think it was SRT, which is similar. It's a similar process. It's not as involved, I don't think, as RTT. And so by the time I saw you, Rachel, I literally tried everything that I could possibly try, including emotional subconscious work as well on it, to get to the root causes.
Excellent. So what do you think, what was it that our session revealed that the others hadn't? What was it that what made the difference, do you think?
I think it was being able to have a full and frank discussion with the part of me. To find the root cause of it was actually finding a little girl who was feeling a little bit unloved and anxious about her connections to people, and that she was able to get connections to people by creating a physical reaction in her body, and this was the root cause, that she could, especially with it linked to her relationship with her father, my dad, and I was able to get a connection with him then, because it was. And also what's interesting actually, Rachel, is both my mum and dad are both, well, they're passed on now, but they were both qualified pharmacists, so they were medics, and they had every medicine that was possible at their disposal. And I was kind of brought up in a sort of medical background, so they took so they were knowledgeable about diseases and how to treat them. And I think this is where this little part of me, this little girl who, well, if I create an illness, mummy and daddy will know how to sort you out and be able to help you. And it, because I grew up in a chemist shop as well. So it was just having that conversation with that little girl who was so worried about my emotional safety, and she was trying to help me, and that was that subconscious connection that we made, that I couldn't make it in all the other work that I'd done. I hadn't had that particular conversation with this part of me, and she was trying to help me.
Yeah, just trying to nurture you and let you know that you were safe, wasn't she? And
yes,
and it was just like, yeah, look, I've got pain, would somebody notice, kind of thing. It's here and no one's taking any notice. And then when you could see it and release it, it's just so beautiful. So when did you know that it's gone? How long did it take? Was it instant? Was it, how long? What was it? What was your?
It was overnight.
Was it?
Yeah, I mean, I think I had that when I made that connection with her, with this part of me that created it. We were kind of in constant conversation. She was sort of front and center of what was going on that day, and then at night I just said, it's going to be okay, everything's going to be okay, we're choosing, you're going to be because we gave her another job. So she became my confidence boost, but she needed so much reassurance from me that it was okay to let go of that job. And she was determined to hang on because, and this is something that happened a couple of weeks afterwards. It's like, because you're on your own, Sarah, you haven't got your dad anymore, because my mum and dad passed away both a couple of years ago. You're not married, you're on your own, you've only got me. And she was so it was an act of love and compassion, so I can't be cross with her. And I just had to kind of reassure her that I was going to be okay, because we've got better ways of looking after ourselves now.
Yeah, it's so beautiful, isn't it, when you can understand it, bring it into the conscious mind and look at it and analyze it, because you don't know what you don't know. It's subconscious, it's at a deep subconscious level. There's no way you can fish it out for yourself, or I've not found a way you can do that.
No, I couldn't do it for myself, Rachel, so that's why that session with you was so crucial, because you found the little thread of understanding in the conversations that we had during the therapy, and you made those connections, and you were able to highlight that, and then it opened up the discussion. And she knew she was in a safe place as well. That, I think, that was important. And I think she needed to be witnessed as well. I think that was really important, because I did have quite a difficult childhood, and I think that was important part of the process.
Yeah, that she felt heard and seen, and it's okay, spoken to, and doing all that nurturing. That is beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah, and she's a very powerful creator. I've realised now, and it's like, well, you don't need that job anymore, but I could do with a bit more confidence from time to time. So that would help a lot. And she's sort of taking on that role more and more, and she's happy to do that, and she feels safe to do that now.
That's awesome. That's great. It's such a pleasure working with you, and I'm so glad that we've been able to sort that after so many years of having all that pain.
I can't even think, how long is it? So 2017, 2018, so that's
getting on for 5 years, isn't it?
5 years. And what happened was the pain literally disappeared overnight. So I woke up in the morning, and it was always a bit better in the morning, but through the day it gradually increased as a general pattern of behaviour. It would sort of increase, and by evening it was really, really sore, and I wasn't getting it at all. It was like, and I was sat with my family, with Trevor and Ted, and it was like, my hands don't hurt. Stopped hurting. And they're going, yes, yeah, they've stopped it. You know, when something that you used to happening, you kind of become used to things. It's like, oh, hang on a minute, they're not hurting. They're not hurting anymore. And it was just,
wow, that's awesome.
Massive relief. And it literally happened overnight. So I thought, right, okay, let's just keep going. Let's keep up the conversation, because she was still a bit worried about letting go. And I maintained this, the medication that I was on before our session, Rachel. I carried on because I thought, well, I'll keep things the same, because I wasn't getting any adverse reactions from that. So I was using an emollient cream, actually, from Lush, the Dream Cream, has been very helpful in managing, because it does get a bit dry sometimes, and that was helpful. But I also continued to use a steroid cream, but it had an antibiotic in it, and I'm not so sure I need that now. I kept using it because I thought I'll keep everything the same, so and then see how things respond. And I don't think I need that steroid cream now. And I just have to make sure, because there's still a bit of scar tissue there. It's still a bit crinkly and a bit bumpy, but it doesn't hurt, and I'm not scratching it and making it worse, because I think I was doing that as well.
Yeah. And just, well, when we were having our first conversation, I could see it when you were doing that. I could see just by working, you know, on this online, I could see that it was there. And you've been doing, when just before we started recording, I could see that your skin is just so much better on your hands.
Yeah, I mean, you could probably see, so my nail varnish is it needs some attention, but you can probably see where the bumpy bits are here, and they still look a bit crispy and a bit crinkly and a bit horrible, but I know that that's going to go over time.
Yeah,
because it's taken 5 years to get that.
It takes 5 years to get there to where they were, so it's going to take a little while to heal. But the pain not being there means it's just gone. Yeah, it's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that story. Is there anything else you want to add, or is that everything that you've?
Just that I felt so relieved, and you know, and so thankful to you, Rachel, for that amazing work you did, making those amazing connections, because I was really stuck with it. It was something I was really, really stuck with, and you got me unstuck with it. And you know, anyone who's considering getting Rachel's help to get to the root cause of something that's been annoying you for so long and that you've had no breakthroughs with, I'd highly recommend Rachel.
Thank you so much. Pleasure working with you, and it's been absolute, well, it's just been fabulous talking to you again. So thank you so much, Sarah.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Bye for now.
Bye.